Hey everyone, the Batman Arkham series is known for its wide array of characters, but unfortunately a lot of them do not get the closure that the big name characters do. If you're not related to the main story, there's a good chance you never got a proper on-screen ending. So today, in no particular order, I'm going to go through some of the characters that never got the closure they deserved, and figure out what happened to each of them after their respective appearances. And if we don't have a clear answer, I'll give my own opinion on what happened to them. So to start off, let's talk about Mr. Hammer and Sickle, aka the Abramovici twins. These two first appeared in Arkham City. Mr. Hammer worked for the Joker and Sickle worked for the Penguin. Both were enforcers for their bosses. Originally from Siberia, the conjoined twins moved to Gotham in search of new opportunities. They originally joined up with Joker's gang before the Joker made Hush surgically separate the two so they would be better in battle. But the Joker ultimately just wanted one big guy, I guess, because he fired Sickle, who then went on to join the Penguin's crew. Immediately after the Joker died, the two brothers reunited and decided that they were better together. Literally. They would actually end up getting themselves sewed back together. And now would be a good time to bring up the question on whether or not the Arkham comics are canon to the games. Personally, while I do find the comics enjoyable, there's too many contradictions with the games to consider them canon. However, they do provide a way for us to see what might have happened to certain characters. And in that case, for the Abramovici twins, the last time we saw them was in an Arkham Knight comic. They were used by Scarecrow to send a message to Penguin. Sickle's mouth was stuffed with straw, however I believe he's still alive. I think that after this, the brothers realized how little the crime lords of Gotham cared about them, and how they were being treated like wild dogs on a leash. They would then go back to Russia, a land with far less superheroes and villains, and start up their own crime empire. Next up, we have Anarchy. Anarchy, aka Lonnie Machin, was a side villain in Arkham Origins who planted bombs all over Gotham in an attempt to, quote, destroy Gotham's sources of corruption. Of course, Batman stopped him and had him arrested. The thing is, after that, we don't ever see him again. In Arkham Knight, there are a few mentions, such as random thug dialogue and his jacket being visible in the GCPD evidence room. My theory is that he was killed, but not by the government or anything, but by the Court of Owls. Hear me out. So if you don't know, the Court of Owls is a shadowy group consisting of the richest people in Gotham who secretly control everything. We know they exist in the Arkhamverse due to multiple Easter eggs alluding to them, and all of the buildings he targeted, maybe with the exception of the GCPD building, were all controlled by Gotham's elite. Now, Anarchy hated the rich, and even after Batman defeated him, clearly showed no remorse for his actions. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched to assume that the Court of Owls wouldn't like a person such as him going around building up followers and tearing down their buildings. So perhaps the court could have sent Talon to kill him. Who knows, but that's my headcanon at least. After that, we have Copperhead. After failing to collect the $50 million bounty over Batman's head, she mysteriously disappeared for the rest of the series. The only mention of her after that game was her signature poison being found at Ace Chemicals in Arkham Knight, implying that her poison was a key ingredient in Scarecrow's new fear toxin formula. However, knowing both Copperhead and Scarecrow, I'm willing to bet that her poison wasn't given up willingly. My theory is that Scarecrow has Copperhead locked up somewhere. It wouldn't make sense for him to kill her, since then he would lose the only source of that poison. Okay, before I talk about the last character, I want to talk about a few side characters whose endings we do know about but are kinda hard to find because they're part of a riddle or something. First up, we have the former warden of Arkham Asylum and the former mayor of Gotham City, Quincy Sharp. After it went public that he was working with Hugo Strange and by proxy the League of Assassins, he was arrested and taken to Blackgate Penitentiary. There, he slowly lost his mind, possibly due to the mental manipulations from Strange, until he ultimately hanged himself. Next we have Bane. This is one of those times where we can't consider the comics to be canon, because in the comics he was killed by the Arkham Knight. In the games, he had a better ending. After Arkham City, Bane was fighting his Venom and Titan addiction and decided it would be best to just up and leave Gotham for good. He decided to go back to his home country, Santa Prisca, only to find that it was ruined by a bloody turf war raged by a ton of rival drug cartels. He would end up killing all of their leaders, effectively cleaning up the country. After that, we have Clayface, who, after blowing up in Arkham City, is currently just various pieces of mud. He's still alive, but he just lost the power to move and shapeshift. His mud was actually used by Hush to hide his facial scars. So, the final character I wanted to talk about today is Lady Shiva. Shiva is probably the biggest loose thread in the entire Arkham series. I mean, even Anarchy had mentions in Arkham Knight, but to my knowledge, the only time Shiva is mentioned is in Arkham Origins. She doesn't even have an appearance in the comics. So what do I think happened to her after her fight with Batman? Well, my theory is that at some point, Ra's al Ghul killed her. We know from her introduction in Arkham Origins that one of her close associates is Nessa Ratko, Talia al Ghul's younger sister. I believe that they were actually close friends at some point. We know that, at least on-screen, Nessa wasn't present for the events of Arkham City when she should have been. The League of Assassins were putting their biggest plan in history into motion. I think that Shiva, like Nessa, noticed and disliked Raish's over-reliance on the Lazarus Pit and saw him as a weak and unfit leader. Because of this, Raish either had her killed, or more likely, killed her himself. This would cause Nissa to leave the League until returning after Raisha's main pit was destroyed. Then she could get revenge for Shiva and lead the assassins herself. That's the ending I always choose anyway. So what do you think happened to all these Arkham side characters? Was there anyone I should have talked about? Feel free to tell me in the comments. I don't know, maybe I'll make a part 2 to this at some point. But anyway, thanks for watching. Remember to like it if you liked it, subscribe if you really liked it, and I'll see you next time.